simple gesture of kindness could lead to a secret that would change everything. One moment, I was just asking for a massage to ease the pain from a long day, and the next, my world was turned upside down. This is my story. I was 18 when my mom remarried. David, my new stepfather, seemed like the perfect man for her. He was kind, caring, and always treated her like she was the most important person in the room. For the first time in a long while, my mom seemed truly happy, and I couldn't help but feel relieved. After all the years of struggle, it felt like she finally had the love and support she deserved. David didn't just step into her life, he made an effort to include me too. He'd ask about my day, offer advice, and even help around the house when things got tough. I could see how much he cared for her, and in a way, I appreciated that he was there for us, especially since my mom had been battling cancer for some time. Her health was deteriorating, and I couldn't help but feel a constant weight of worry. But with David by her side, I thought maybe, just maybe, things would be okay. One evening, after a long day at work, I came home feeling completely drained. My back and shoulders ached, and all I wanted was to lie down and forget about the exhaustion. David noticed right away and, with a gentle smile, offered to help. "You look like you've had a tough day. Why don't you let me help you? I used to give your mom massages all the time, it'll help loosen you up." I was hesitant at first. It felt strange, letting my stepfather massage me, but the pain in my shoulders was unbearable, and I didn't want to be rude. So, after a moment of hesitation, I agreed. We sat down in the living room, and David gently placed his hands on my shoulders. At first, his touch was calm, almost professional. His hands moved with a practiced ease, and I could feel the tension in my muscles slowly beginning to ease. I closed my eyes, allowing myself to relax, grateful for the relief. But then, something shifted. His hands lingered longer than they should have. The pressure on my back was different now, more deliberate, more intimate. I could feel the warmth of his hands seeping through my clothes, and the air in the room suddenly felt heavier. His touch wasn't just soothing anymore, it was almost possessive. I felt a knot form in my stomach, a strange unease creeping up my spine. His breathing changed, deepening, and when I glanced up at him, I saw his face flushed, his eyes a little too focused on where his hands were. I froze, unsure of how to react. My heart began to race, and my body tensed under his touch. I wanted to pull away, to say something, but the words wouldn't come. The silence between us stretched on, thick and suffocating. I could feel the weight of his presence, the tension hanging in the air, and I knew something wasn't right. Finally, I stood up, my voice barely a whisper as I muttered, I'm really tired." I quickly made my way to the other side of the room, my hands shaking as I tried to calm myself. David apologized almost immediately, his voice shaky and filled with regret. "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable," he said, but the words felt hollow. I didn't know what to say. I just nodded and left the room. But as I walked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The air between us felt different now, charged, almost electric. And as I lay in bed that night, my mind replayed the scene over and over again. I couldn't understand what had just happened, but I knew one thing for sure, things between David and me would never be the same again. After that night, something unspoken lingered between David and me. The air between us felt different, charged, heavy. We avoided eye contact, but I could feel his presence in the room, like a constant weight pressing down on me. And then, there were the moments when I caught him watching me, his gaze lingering a little too long, as if he were trying to read me, to figure out what I was thinking. Every time our eyes met, I quickly looked away, but the tension was palpable. It was like we were both holding our breath, waiting for something to break, but neither of us knew what to say. The house, once filled with the comforting noise of everyday life, felt unbearably quiet. Even my mom's laughter seemed distant, as if it couldn't quite reach me anymore. I couldn't shake the feeling that the walls were closing in on me, and I found myself retreating into silence. Every interaction with David was now tainted by that one moment, and I didn't know how to escape it. David seemed just as uncomfortable. He avoided me as much as I avoided him, but every now and then, I would catch him glancing at me from across the room, his expression unreadable. It was clear that neither of us knew how to navigate this new, unspoken distance between us. The guilt was suffocating, but so was the strange, magnetic pull I felt every time he was near. One evening, when my mom was resting upstairs, David and I found ourselves alone in the kitchen. The silence between us was unbearable, and I could feel the weight of everything unsaid hanging in the air. Finally, David broke the silence. His voice was soft, almost apologetic, but there was something else in it, something raw. "I'm sorry about the other night," he said quietly, his eyes downcast as if he couldn't bear to look at me. I nodded, unsure of what to say. The words felt stuck in my throat. I didn't know if I should tell him how uncomfortable I felt, how confused I was, or if I should just pretend it never happened. But instead of walking away, I stayed. I don't know why, I just couldn't bring myself to leave. There was something about his apology, something in the way he said it, that made me want to stay and listen. For a moment, we stood there in silence, neither of us knowing what to do next. The weight of what had happened hung between us, but in that moment, I realized that things had already changed. There was no going back. Days turned into weeks, and with each passing day, the space between David and me seemed to shrink. Our interactions, once limited to brief exchanges, became more frequent. It started with stolen glances, quick, nervous looks that we quickly tried to dismiss. But even those moments felt charged, as if there was something more we weren't saying. Then came the lingering touches. A brush of his hand as he passed by, a hand on my shoulder that stayed just a little too long. Every time, my heart raced and I'd pull away, pretending it didn't affect me. But it did. More than I cared to admit. One evening, as we sat together in the living room, the air between us thick with unsaid words, our hands brushed. It was barely a touch, but it sent a jolt through me, like electricity. I glanced at him, and for a moment, neither of us moved. Then, without thinking, I reached for him, my hand finding his. The world seemed to stop as our eyes locked, and in that moment, I knew there was no turning back. Slowly, we leaned in, and before I knew it, our lips met. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, as if we were both testing the waters. But soon, it deepened, and the intensity between us grew. I could feel the heat of his body, the urgency in his touch, and I couldn't pull away. My heart pounded in my chest, and every rational thought screamed at me to stop before it went too far. But I didn't. I knew it was wrong. My mom, upstairs, was fighting for her life, battling cancer with every ounce of strength she had left. And here I was, betraying her in the most unimaginable way. Guilt gnawed at me constantly. But every time I was with David, it felt like the weight lifted, if only for a moment. He made me feel alive in a way I hadn't before. Like I was more than just a daughter, more than just a caretaker. With him, I felt seen. I felt wanted. For 6 months, we continued this secret affair, while my mom's health deteriorated. She fought, but I couldn't seem to stop. The pull of David's presence, his touch, was too strong. Each stolen moment with him felt like a breath of fresh air, something that kept me going, even as my mom's battle seemed more and more hopeless. The guilt was suffocating, but the connection between us was undeniable. Each moment with him overshadowed everything else, and I found myself tangled in emotions I couldn't untangle. As the days passed, our bond grew more intense, and with each passing day, the line between right and wrong blurred even further. Then, everything changed. I started feeling sick in the mornings, a constant nausea that wouldn't go away. At first, I tried to ignore it, chalking it up to stress or exhaustion. But as the days passed, it became harder to deny. The signs were there, and I couldn't keep pretending. One morning, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I went to the store, bought a test, and waited. When I saw those 2 lines, my world spun. I was 3 months pregnant, with David's child. I stared at the test, my hands trembling. I couldn't breathe. I felt the weight of everything crash down on me all at once. This wasn't just a mistake, this was something that would change everything. I had no idea what to do, or how to tell David. That night, I couldn't keep it to myself any longer. I found him in the kitchen, his back to me as he prepared dinner. My heart was pounding, and I felt like I might faint. When he turned to face me, I could barely get the words out. "David, I'm pregnant," I whispered, my voice shaking. His face froze for a moment, and for a second, I thought he might panic. But then, something unexpected happened. His expression softened, and a strange, almost relieved smile spread across his face. "You're pregnant?" he asked, his voice low but filled with something I couldn't quite place. Instead of fear or shock, his face lit up with a determination I had never seen before. He stepped closer to me, taking my hands in his. "This is our chance," he said, his voice steady, almost excited. "We can't keep living like this. We'll leave together and raise this baby the way we want to. We'll start fresh, somewhere far away, where no one knows us." His words hit me like a wave. I didn't know what to think. A part of me felt relieved, like I wasn't alone in this. But another part of me was terrified. Could I really leave everything behind? Could I leave my mom, who was still so sick, and start a new life with David? I wasn't sure, but the idea of escaping, of being free from the secret we'd been hiding, was almost too tempting to resist. David promised me he'd take care of everything. He'd make sure my mom was looked after, that she wouldn't be alone. But the guilt of leaving her, of walking away from everything she had fought for, weighed heavily on me. Still, the thought of starting a new life with David, of raising this child together, was all-consuming. And so, we began to plan. The idea of eloping, of disappearing and starting over, felt like a dream. But it was a dream that I couldn't seem to shake. David promised to take care of everything. He assured me that my mom would be well looked after, that we wouldn't leave her behind without support. He had a plan to ensure she wouldn't be alone. But as my mom's condition worsened, the guilt of what we were planning began to suffocate me. Every time I saw her smile weakly at David, thanking him for being such a supportive husband, my heart shattered a little more. She had no idea what was happening, no idea that the man she trusted, the man she leaned on, was the one I was secretly in love with. The love that had led me to this point, a point where I was about to leave her behind. The guilt weighed heavily on me. I knew what I was doing was wrong, but I couldn't seem to stop. Each stolen moment with David made me feel alive, desired in a way I never had before. But that didn't erase the fact that my mother was upstairs, fragile and unaware of the secret I carried. We made our plans in secret, David arranging everything, a new life in another state, a fresh start, a future together. We'd leave once things had progressed enough with my mom's illness. But with every detail we worked out, the burden of betrayal grew. I didn't know if I could go through with it. Could I really leave my mom behind, knowing she might not have much time left? Still, the thought of a life with David, of raising our child together, was too powerful to ignore. Every time I looked at him, every time he promised me a future, I felt a rush of longing. But each time I looked at my mom, each time she trusted me with a smile, my heart broke all over again. I was torn between the love I'd always longed for and the love I was about to abandon. The emotional conflict was suffocating, but I couldn't stop. The life we were about to build together was a dream I couldn't resist, even though I knew it would cost me everything. Our plan was set. We would leave at the end of the month. David had arranged everything, an apartment in another state, new jobs, a fresh start. It was everything we needed to build a life together, away from secrets and guilt. But as the days passed, doubt crept in. Lying awake at night, I couldn't stop thinking about my mom. How could I leave her, knowing she might not have much time left? The thought of walking away from the woman who had always been there for me felt like a betrayal I couldn't undo. Then there was David. The love I felt for him was unlike anything I had ever known. He promised me a future, a life where we could be together without fear, without hiding. The idea of building a life with him, of raising our child in a place where we could be free, was tempting. But with every promise, the weight of what I was leaving behind grew heavier. The closer the day came, the more I felt torn. I couldn't shake the image of my mom, frail and fragile, growing weaker every day. The love I had for David felt so right, but the love for my mom made it impossible to ignore the guilt. How could I walk away from her, from everything she had sacrificed for me? The decision felt impossible. Would I follow my heart and leave with David, or would I stay with my mom, sacrificing my own happiness to care for her? The closer the day came, the more the weight of the decision pressed down on me. The plan was in motion, but I was no closer to knowing what to do. Would I follow the life David promised me, or would I stay and live with the guilt of abandoning my mother? The moment of truth was fast approaching, and I didn't know which path to take. In the end, I couldn't do it. I chose my mother over the man I thought I loved. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, but it was the right one. As the days passed, I watched my mom's health deteriorate, but I stayed by her side, caring for her in ways I never imagined I would. The guilt of leaving David, of walking away from the life we had planned, weighed heavily on me, but I knew I had made the only choice I could live with. I never saw David again after that night. He left the house the very next day, taking the plans we had made with him. I heard rumors that he moved away, started over somewhere else, but he never contacted me. I often wonder what would have happened if I had gone with him. Would we have built a life together? Would I have been happy? But in my heart, I knew I couldn't leave my mother behind, not when she needed me the most. As for the pregnancy, I couldn't keep it. I couldn't bring a child into the world under those circumstances, especially with my mom so sick. I made the decision to end it, and it became a secret I could never tell anyone.